Did I just finish filming my previous vlog at work today? Yes. Am I gonna start a new vlog right now? Also yes, because it's a new day for you. It's the same day for me, new day for you. So in this vlog, I'm going to be reading Fairy Tale by Stephen King. This is his newest release, and I'm sorry if you can hear Mira eating her food in the background. I apologize. But she is hungry and I'm not gonna stop her. So, I have yet to read this one, and I'm very disappointed in me that it has taken me this long to pick this up. So I think for this vlog, I'm just going to be focusing on this book and my reactions as I read this, because if you don't know, Stephen King is my favorite author ever. I love his work, I love his books, I love that man. So I'm very disappointed in myself that it has taken me this long to read this, but the time has finally come. It's finally here. We're gonna read this. Now this is, from what I have heard, this is slightly different from his usual. This is more fantasy thriller, I think. There's a little bit of horror, maybe. I'm not entirely sure. Sorry, best friend texted me. She's in the middle of stuff, but I know there's probably like 2 or 3 more texts like gonna come through before I need to respond. So this book follows a 17-year-old boy. His mother was killed in a tragic car accident, and his father then turned to alcohol, and Charlie has been learning since he was a young child to take care of himself and his father after his mom's accident. Now, Charlie meets one of their, I think, neighbors who lives in this big house. This man never leaves his house. He also has a dog named Raider. Howard. The man's name is Howard. Sorry. When he starts helping Howard out at his house, he notices that he has a shed in his backyard, and there's some weird sounds coming from the shed that he doesn't know what they are. When Howard eventually dies, he leaves Charlie a cassette tape that has this whole story regarding what is in this shed, and it is a story, according to the flap, that no one would ever believe. There is a portal to another world in this shed. Sounds like a great time to me. Sounds like I'm gonna have a fantastic time reading this book. I have been holding on to this book for a while for a reason, because I was waiting on the audiobook to be available from my library, and I have been waiting months for this audiobook. So I finally have that. So it is time to read this, and I'm so excited. I am reading a few other books at the same time, but that is neither here nor there. That is not for this vlog. This vlog is all about my man Stephen King. So let's get started with reading. Okay, I'm only on chapter 2 of this book, and I'm already really enjoying it. It feels like coming home when I read a Stephen King book. I love his writing style. I love the way he describes things, the way he goes into detail with the characters. Like, you get the backstory of how Charlie lost his mom, his dad's alcoholism, and how he got to meet Mr. Bowditch, which is Howard, and I love it. I love Stephen King and his writing so freaking much. I've already annotated a little bit. You can kind of see my little tabs that I got going and some notes that I've taken in it. And I love it. I love it. And I like Mr. Bowditch so far. Like, I know he's this like crotchety old man, but his love for his dog Radar is so cute. It's so cute and precious. I also like how he described Mr. Bowditch's house, because he compared it to the Psycho house with Norman Bates, which I thought was really cool. When Stephen King describes a scene and a property or anything like that, you really can like picture it in your mind. It's very vivid with how he describes. And I love that. I love when I'm reading a book and it feels like it's just like a movie playing in my head, like a very vivid movie. Like when I read, I can picture the characters and the scenes and everything. But when Stephen King writes it, very clear picture of the scene and what's going on. And I think that's why I like how descriptive he is. A lot of people think that Stephen King is very wordy, and that's true. They are not wrong. But it works for me because I love his writing and I love the amount of detail that goes in to these books. I absolutely love it. And I'm listening to the audiobook while reading along with this, like I said, and I do like the narrator of the audiobook. I think the audiobook is very good as well. So if you don't want to read it, if you don't want the physical copy, you just want to listen to it, highly recommend the audiobook. It's very good so far. But I'm going to continue reading for a little bit. I'm just waiting on a phone call, and I will probably read before bed as well. Hi, good morning everyone. Is it morning? Technically it's still morning. It's 11:46 and it's Friday and I'm home from work today. I am still reading Fairy Tale and I'm loving it. I am now, and if I sound weird, my allergies are absolutely horrible. Am I still outside suffering because I like being outside? Yes, I do it to myself, I know, but I like being outside, so I don't care. So I am on page 102. I'm on chapter 6. We've got to the point now where Mr. Bowditch is home. Charlie is helping him out at the house, and he has to run this errand for him that is very important to get it done and get it over with quickly and get back to Mr. Bowditch's place. And we've gotten past that now. We have started to learn more about Mr. Bowditch and what he is keeping in his safe upstairs, and I believe he's about to reveal to Charlie what is in the shed, I think, or he's gonna start kind of talking about that more and revealing a little bit of his secrets as to like why he has so much money, why you can't find any information about him and his history and his family's history, and you know, he doesn't have a job and he never talks about what he used to do, but he has all this money to spare. So I think we're gonna get a little bit more of that. I am taking notes in my little notebook here. I'm trying to do that for all of the books that I read because I don't read as much as some people, but for me personally, I read a lot of books and I quickly forget what the book was about unless it was like a 5-star read and it really impacted me. Even if I really enjoyed the book, like I'll forget what happens. I'll remember big plot points sometimes, but like character names and little things that happen, I don't remember. So I'm trying to keep notes as much as possible. I'm also going back and making pages in my reading journal, which I'll put a picture of that here, because I really want to start getting more into that creatively now that I'm kind of in a better place mentally. Things are happening in my life. I'm happier. I want to get back to the things that I love. So that is something that I am starting to do. And I did make a spread for Caraval, whatever, which I will take pictures of and then share with you guys on Instagram. So I'm just going to hang out outside, drink my tea, and enjoy this Friday off with Mira. She's outside, she's in the yard. She'll probably come up and visit at some point, but she loves being outside. So yeah, I will check in with you guys when I'm a little bit farther into this book. I'm hoping I can just sit out here for several hours and read. I really want to get at least to the halfway point today, which I don't know if that's possible, but we're gonna do our best and try. Also, I decided to indulge in my like childish side and nostalgia side, and I got a Tamagotchi. Look how freaking cute. Ah! I got it at Target. I attached it to my AirPods so that I'll always have it with me. But I used to love these as a kid. I don't know if you can properly see it. There we go. I used to love these as a kid. I had like 6 or 7 of these bad boys, and I don't know what it is about them, but it makes my inner child happy, so I bought one. But yeah, okay, now that that's over with, I'm gonna go ahead and start reading. Well, I'm gonna have to charge my camera soon. Ruh-roh. So, I am farther. I have not made it to the halfway point yet, obviously. I've been taking some breaks in between just so I don't get too tired, which I'm starting to feel like that mid-afternoon nap feeling, so hopefully I can stay awake. I'm 166 pages in, and I am on chapter 10. I've decided that this vlog is gonna have to have spoilers just because it's really hard to talk about what's going on in the book without spoiling anything. But this part right here isn't going to be too spoilery because it's pretty much told you on the dust jacket this point that we're at right now. So Howard has passed away. He was doing really well with his recovery. Everything was going good. Radar is kind of on the downward decline of her health, and that's really hard for me to read because I have a dog. She is my whole world. Nymeria, I'm sure you've seen her in some of my videos if you've watched any of my previous videos. She's going to be a 4-year-old Siberian Husky tomorrow, and she is the best thing in my life. She is my child, and I love her with all of my heart. So it's really hard to read these parts where you're watching this dog's health decline and she's getting older, because I am going to be an absolute wreck when that happens to Mira. I don't know what I'm going to do when that happens. You know, they found her another medicine and she was starting to do a little bit better, although they knew it wasn't going to completely fix the problem. Well, Charlie took Radar out one night and the thing that's in the shed got a little bit too rambunctious and was making a lot of noise and was almost breaking the door down. So Howard decides to yell at both of them, tell them to get in the house, and he goes and takes care of it. He goes in the shed and shoots and kills whatever is in the shed, and then comes back out and tells Charlie not to worry about it right now. I'll explain it to you later. Not tonight. I'm tired. A couple days later, he ends up having a heart attack and dies on his way to the hospital, but he calls Charlie before the EMTs arrive and tells him that everything you need is under the bed. Just look under the bed, take care of Radar, look under the bed before you decide what you want to do with Radar. He went and got what was under the bed, and he has now started to listen to the tape recorder. On this recorder, it is Howard obviously narrating his story to Charlie, and what's really cool about the audiobook is Stephen King actually narrates this part of the book. It's so cool. This part of the audiobook actually sounds like an old tape recorder, and it's Stephen King narrating that part of Howard, and I love it. I love it so much. I love when Stephen King narrates his own work, and he's very good at giving the characters like their own voice and their own sound. So I'm really enjoying the way that this story is developing. It's a slow pace right now because we're building the story, we're building the background of these characters and what has led up to this point where Charlie is discovering what this huge secret is. So I'm very excited to see how much more we get from this story. What is in this damn shed? Okay, I have finally finished Fairy Tale. It is now Tuesday, June 27th. I don't even remember when I started this book, but I know it was a while ago. But I had a lot going on. My boyfriend came up for my birthday. I was busy at work. I kind of got into a little bit of a reading slump there after he left because I was really sad after he had left. And figuring out everything with some stuff that's coming up in the future. It's just been crazy. But I did finally finish Fairy Tale, and I want to give you my thoughts regarding this book. So overall for Fairy Tale, I think I'm going to give it a 4 stars. I have heard varying opinions on this book. If you are used to reading Stephen King for his horror, you are probably not going to like this as much as someone who really loves like fantasy and like a little bit of horror, but they're really there for the fantasy, fairy tale-esque vibes. Then you might like this book more than someone who's going into this after reading like The Stand or The Institute. That's not what this is. This is a very whimsical, fun quest tale with like fairy tale elements mixed in. There is a little bit of horror towards the end, but it's definitely not as prominent as his other works. So one of the things that I've seen on BookTube, I haven't really watched a whole lot of other people's videos regarding this book because I didn't want to be spoiled, but one video I saw mentioned that Charlie doesn't really speak like a 17-year-old boy would speak. And I think that's on purpose because you find out at the end of the book that Charlie is writing this like 9 years or 10 years or something after these events have occurred. And going to this other world, that has changed him a lot as a person. And I think it forced him to grow up rather quickly with what he was dealing with. And then on top of that, he's now like a grown adult in his late 20s telling the story after been to a whole nother world, spoken a whole nother language, been through all of these events, and now he's an adult that has graduated college. He's much more intelligent now than whenever these events probably occurred. So he is going to sound more like an adult than a 17-year-old boy. Now, Charlie does have like some ridiculous and eye-rolling thoughts like a 17-year-old boy would have, but the way he speaks is not quite how a 17-year-old would speak. This didn't bother me because I'm used to Stephen King's writing. I'm used to his characters having their own kind of voice, and sometimes you can just tell who it's written by, and that doesn't bother me. The only things that bother me with this book would have to be there are some slow parts that just when I put the book down, I was just like, can we just get to the fantasy fairy tale part? Do we have to really go through this? The beginning grabbed my attention, and then right there in the middle when you're still learning about Mr. Bowditch and you're still watching Charlie, you know, take care of him and stuff, I was getting a little bored. I just wanted to move on with the rest of the story. And then once I got over that point, I was all in again. I was definitely interested. I wanted to know what would happen. The only other issue I had was that I wanted more exploration of this other world. There's a reason why Charlie can't explore what's going on in this world due to the enemies and the monsters and everything that's going on. But I really wanted more information on the other place than what we got. But overall, I really enjoyed this book. It definitely had that almost cozy, like whimsical fairy tale vibes mixed in with some action, some quests that needed to be completed, learning about the characters, meeting all kinds of different people and different creatures, and, you know, the big fight at the end. Overall, it was a 4-star book for me. It wasn't quite perfect, but I love Stephen King, so maybe my review is a little biased because I do enjoy his writing. I do enjoy the way that he tells stories, and for me, this was almost perfect. Not quite, but almost. I really, really enjoyed it. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it this far, sorry this vlog is kind of all over the place, but a lot was going on while I was trying to film this. So I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, evening, night, wherever you are, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!